Greetings, everybody. I'm getting myself set up here so I have all the tools available that need to be available. And then we'll be able to see each other. Well, we'll see just where this is going to take us this week because life is always an adventure. This is the chart for Monday, the 24th. And let's begin this consideration with the celestial chatter, January 24th through 30th. Though the season of Aquarius is upon us, there's an overriding Capricorn signature to this coming week. You're going to see that as we go along here. Last evening, as my astrological group finally opened up the chart for the moment, about 15 to 20 minutes into our gathering, one of the participants said, "Look, the sun is at 0 degrees, 0 minutes of Aquarius." My response was that it likely had been there for a while. I rotated the chart backwards a minute at a time to discover that only 2 minutes earlier, the sun had been at 29 degrees, 59 minutes of Capricorn. We welcomed this shift in solar energy from Capricorn to Aquarius. During a most entertaining sleep dream cycle last night, anticipating what was going to be inspiration for this next week's celestial chatter, the orderly shifting of the planetary dance became rather amazing to behold, and other characters joined the festivities that I could swear were straight out of multiple Dr. Seuss lands, and we were way beyond the realm of Z. As I observed the interplay, at one point it appeared we were on the surface of a very large pool table, and the conversations transpiring were a challenge to keep up with. While this seemed to go on for many hours, the couple times I opened my eyes, I could see that only 2 hours had transpired. It was a long, long dream session. I watched as Mars, still traveling out of bounds, right up there at the top of this chart, and carrying the signature of vision quests it was on, but not alone, crossed the invisible line into Capricorn to welcome Monday. 1 year ago on this day, I became a grandfather for the first time. I cannot begin to do justice to the myriad directions and players on this tabletop as they infused energy to and within one another. Move the chart ahead a day. Tuesday arrives, and the moon forms a waning square with the sun from Scorpio. The culminating square in any cycle can represent moments when our version of reality meets a crisis in consciousness as to whether we have chosen correctly our path forward in any cycle. Here's the Sabian symbol interpretation from Dane Rudger's An Astrological Mandala to meditate upon related to this waning lunar cycle. Scorpio 6 degrees. Gold in the vision. The gold rush tears men away from their native soil. Keynote, the passionate search for new values, which at any level promise a more abundant life. Further clarification. The greatness of man is that he can always be greater. Likewise, at a national level, man's greed can more easily be aroused by whatever promises more wealth, more power, and ever greater achievements at all levels, spiritual as well as material. Beyond this arousal of greed is the deep-seated desire to play a more important or spectacular role in one's society or community. Greed is the perverse intensification of the social sense, just as lust is the perverse intensification of the longing for love. Always at this Scorpio level, the yearning is for an ever more intense and all-absorbing union with a person or a community, a yearning which motivates a search for more effectual means to achieve as total a feeling experience as is possible. This is the first stage of the 44th sequence of symbolic phases in the cycle of existence. It dramatizes the capacity in man to tear himself away from the known and the familiar, gambling everything on a vision or a dream. The key word is avidity. That's A-V-I-D, ity, avidity. Let's bump the chart ahead to Wednesday and see what kind of things are going to greet us there. When Wednesday arrives this week, Mercury, traveling in reverse, will enter Capricorn from the other end. Remember, Mars entered it from the front end. This Capricorn sandwich seemed to trigger an amazing array of muse interface that ascended, this is in my dream cycle that I was going through, well beyond the surface of the table. At one point, I could hear a flute. I know it was a flute that beckoned my ears, and it seemed to be calling from a long time ago and from a distant land. And I just sat there and I listened to it. The next thing I know, I could hear a kind of a rap sound, but it was deep and it was profound, and it was a distant rhythmic beat, and it seemed to reverberate at the very foundations of this planet Earth. Can you hear it? And then the muses chimed in, informing me of Indra's web of energy surrounding all of life. Indra's web of energy. I should probably describe that a little bit more specifically, because many of you may not even be familiar with. Energy is everywhere and in everything, and Indra's web of energy is this matrix, this web of substance that basically expands across the entire cosmos. And when you are aware of it and can tune into it at any point where you are, you become tuned into anything that's vibrating somewhere out in the web as the vibrations move throughout this matrix of energetic substance. Anyway, I could hear something resonating down and out through this web. It seemed almost like musical notes begging for ears to sense, reverberating along the fibers of this great web. And I listened. Can you hear something there too? It was 1 year ago to this date that I had a heart attack. Well, I'm still here. You know, it obviously wasn't my time yet. Thanks to the doctors for keeping me abreast of what I needed to be kept abreast of in order to continue with this current journey on planet Earth. Let's take a look ahead a little bit further here. Friday arrives. A couple things here. What happens on Friday into Saturday is, I'm going to move this to Saturday real shortly, but Venus up here, which has been going retrograde through Capricorn, is going to essentially stand still. You can see it's here at 11 degrees, 5 minutes. If I go ahead to Saturday, you can see it's at 11 degrees, 4 minutes, and it changed from red to black, which means that it has stationed, and now it's going direct. And you can kind of see there, it has a partner here in the form of the moon dancing as it approaches it. So Friday and Saturday arrive, and Venus begins its station from retrograde to direct motion in Capricorn. Well, the moon, now traveling out of bounds, will cross paths with Venus during this slow down, change of direction time. I have to admit that the visions and senses at this point, I'm back to talking about the dream cycle that I went through last night, traverse time and space to become aware of a kind of like a distant scent. And it was that of an orchid. And it seemed like it was being fanned by the wings of a hummingbird thousands of years ago, reaching across this great distance to assail in exquisite form thoughts of a distant connection to life, set in motion as if it was this current moment. Just settle into that for a second. The next thing that I could feel was a connection to a section of water vapor as it lifted from the Great Sea 2 centuries ago and crossed my lips from this glass of water I held before me. The taste spawned a journey where I became this watering process. We're all one, all energy. 73 years ago today, I inhaled the first breath of my current incarnation. That's Friday, by the way. Here's the Sabian interpretation for the Venusian signature as it comes to stillness. And I'm just basically going to let it rip. Capricorn, 12 degrees. I know it says 11 degrees up there. An illustrated lecture on natural science reveals little-known aspects of life. Keynote: the ability to explore unfamiliar realms and discover the laws underlying the complex processes of nature. The aristocratic garden of the preceding phase has become the laboratory and lecture hall of a modern college. The emphasis here is on the acquisition of extensive knowledge, the satisfaction of intellectual curiosity. Nevertheless, also an aristocracy of science. This is the modern type. Its use of acquired knowledge can pose as many problems as the use of hereditary aristocratic wealth. But it is man's essential function to become fully conscious of all life forms and processes on this earth. Mankind is the conscious mind of the planet. And even as I read those words, my contemplation tells me that many of us are not always tuned in at that conscious level. Even though this may be part of what we should be aiming at, it requires work. So at this second stage, the intellectual search for empirical knowledge contrasts with the display attendant to the wealth and culture of an elite. Civilization is founded on an overextended capitalization on knowledge and use of technology. It features exploration preeminently at all levels. Saturday also finds Mercury retrograding back across Pluto. I have mentioned this Sabian degree symbol before, so suffice this short version of just the vision sparked by it. Capricorn, 27 degrees. Pilgrims climbing the steep steps leading to a mountain shrine. Mercury is about the message, among other things. And in this symbol, there may seem to not be much overt conversation transpiring, but the energy underway is thick enough to have pieces cut off and served as contemplation for this journey. Also, on this same Saturday, the sun forms a sextile from Chiron with Chiron in Aries. This is a communion of vibrational energy at work that is harmonious in the sextile aspect. Chiron is the healer, mentor, and consort for those seeking assistance and tutoring. In Aries, there's a drive present to accomplish something. Receiving assistance from an innovative solar push to be more inclusive with whomever requires these energies, we could perceive a dynamic rush of healing capacities. 1 year ago today, I came home from hospital with 2 stents added to my being. Move the chart ahead to Sunday. We draw the week to a close on Sunday as the sun forms a square with the optional ruler of Aquarius, which would be Uranus in Taurus. I have utilized this degree multiple times over the last short while, but here's the Sabian short version. Aquarius, 11 degrees. This is for the sun. During a silent hour, a man receives new inspiration which may change his life. And for Uranus at Taurus, 11 degrees, the vision is a woman watering flowers in her garden. While most squares represent tension and challenges to any aspect being considered, this may not be so obvious here. It actually may spark some sudden insight of inspiration to both the innovative front, that's the Aquarius side, as well as to the capacity to engage effectively with Mother Earth, Taurus. During the overnight visions, I was informed to draw a divination card from the mystical shaman oracle deck for this week's meditation to ponder. The card drawn is the Earth Keeper and seems fittingly appropriate. The image appears to me to be of a goddess overseeing not just the Earth, but many planets simultaneously. The write-up essence is, just as you're involved in co-creating your world, you are also responsible for its well-being. The Earth Keepers are dedicated to the stewardship of the Earth and all life. They choose to hold the sacred dream of a planet where all beings live in peace and where the rivers and the air are clean. Remember that everything you do has an impact for 7 generations. Mull on that for a bit. So as we bring this week coming up to a close in our considerations, might we remember to enjoy the ride. There are so many opportunities to participate together with one another in this season of Aquarius and to innovate things that have not been thought of before. I'm going to leave you to contemplate these thoughts. And I trust that if you do find yourself in dreamland, don't hold back. And don't be terrified if the muses show up for you. They really are an amazingly and colorful adventure. So ciao for now. I trust your journey is well attended. Thank you.